Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another journey on Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Stephen Sede, an extraordinary man who's doing some wonderful things. He's really moving and shaking people, but he has such a wonderful perspective in the way that he's doing it. I love what he says, his statement, which is one I'm probably going to steal, is the business of life. It's not just about business. It's not just about your career. Your life is your career. Everything you do in your life has to do with your own personal business, your own relationship with self. And he has traveled many a journey in his life, literally around the world, whether he's gathered not only himself, but his gifts, his perspectives, and he's sharing them now. You could call him the whiteboard king on LinkedIn. He has these wonderful spots and series where he just writes on the whiteboard an epiphany, an observation, and you look at it and it's always a lovely little trigger in your mind. Yeah, I hadn't looked at it that way. That answers a question I had that I didn't even know I had. And he also has these wonderful podcasts where he does the same type of thing. Coaches and mentors and business people come on kind of sharing maybe an obstacle they have, and he has a wonderful way of unraveling. He is the coach's coach. He's the mentor's mentor, but really he just likes to go as Stephen, just doing his thing of all the wonderful knowledge that he's gathered through his life. And it's about living life, the business of life. Welcome, Stephen.
Oh, can I go now?
Definitely not. Got to live up to that now.
My head's going to get too big for Zoom. It's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yep.
I just focus on getting people to look in the mirror and love what they see. It's pretty simple. And for me, everything that you've said so very graciously and kindly, I appreciate it, can be boiled down all the way to this. Everyone thinks their business is business and personal life is personal life and romance is this and emotion is this and spirituality is this, all those types of things. I deal with the foundation of your life, because if your heart and soul and mind isn't active, there is no business, there is no personal, there is no romance, there is no spiritual. And if you want proof, watch what happens when you're at work in the middle of your busy business day and you get a phone call to say that something in your life that's really important, your children, for example, all of a sudden something's happened, and instantaneously we have an unconditional and unwritten agreement in the professional world, whether it's entrepreneurial, small business or corporate, that if someone's family or something happens at a personal level, you don't need permission, you don't need to fill a form, you just walk out the door.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy that's associated with making people understand, stop thinking your life is business and start thinking about the business of life.
Start feeling life.
Yeah, all those types of things.
I find people think too much. There's the expectational thing of I should do it this way. I have got to reach this goal. I've got to have those amount of followers. I've got to have in order to be important or for people to see me. And that's an illusion. And it's something you're chasing that you can never, ever live up to. The only person you've got is yourself, your beautiful self who has a gift, and you've got to learn how to use it and how to share it out with the world, because that's your purpose. But who are you? Are you this illusion and expectation? Or are you a person that's truly embraced your heart, soul, and your spirit and your meaningful purpose here? Because that's really the journey of life, isn't it?
Yeah, I often say on the show, I don't care about you following me. I want you to follow you.
Yes.
My job is to be your cheerleader. Ego, obviously the ego, be nice if sometimes you got more views than that. Of course, I'm human. Everyone is, but I'm more impressed in the mornings when I wake up and there's a DM from someone who's just talking about the relationship with their 6-year-old daughter, which I got today. Mm-hmm. The daughter whose father left when they were first conceived, and the little daughter comes up and says, "Oh, Mum, I'm starting to understand that we're going to be okay, just you and me."
Mm.
And that to me is more important than going, hey, I got 30,000 views. In Sede land, we do this thing where we take the number of comments, divide it by 2, because more often than not, you're replying back to comments. So if you get a comment, you have the courtesy of replying. So we take the number of comments, divide it by 2. So that's basically people commenting, and divide that against the number and turn it into a percentage and call it attraction ratio. Because I want to know how many people are engaged, and not the things about I appreciate you, this is profound, or all of the stuff where people are just using algorithm triggers. So I'll go onto as many posts as I can and I'll put stuff on to trigger the algorithm. I want people to actually stop, read the post, and then engage with it. And if that means we only get 20 or 30, that's fine. But on there's occasions for stuff that we've been putting out recently that's quite profound. We're getting 28 to 29% traction ratio. Then you look at something with a 5,000 viewership and it's 1.06.
And that's the point. I will get people who will say, well, how many numbers listen to your shows? And I say, all those that are ready to listen. I put the show out. This is the library. It's accessible. I promote it, obviously. But when you're ready to hear what you're meant to hear, you'll be ready to listen to it. I can't force anyone to listen. All I can do is show you where it is to access. It is up to you to sorry, I thought I'd switch that off.
That's fine.
I turned the volume down on it. Why are you ringing?
I better check now.
But the point is,
it's still your fault, but I'm checking my phone.
I turned the volume right down. I don't know why I did that. Yeah. But anyway, the whole point is it's your content and the way you're writing on the whiteboards. They are thought-provoking. And the responses that you're getting, or that certainly that you provoke in me, is, as you know, you always incite a statement from me. You always incite something from me.
Very kind.
Well, but it may not be the whole thing. It may be just one little thing that you've said there that triggers a response from me. But that is the engagement, and the engagement counts so much more, as you said, than the likes or the that's good. It's about, I've heard you. You've had an impact on me. It's not about how many people follow you. How many people are you impacting? And that's what we need to know in order to be able to continue on what we're doing. Are we actually making a difference?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we did, the team that works around me, I said to them, can you go through all of my comments in the last 6 months? And there was 4 of the ladies who did this. And I said, pull out the top 10 words. Each of you do this separately, and then come together and actually compare all your top 10 words and derive it down to 3 words. I want 3 words that are the most consistent things that get said on people's comments across all the different platforms. And they took off and they did it and came back as diligently as they always do. And the words they came back with is inspiring, insightful, and wisdom. Mm-hmm. And then I was doing some work with, and I don't have clients and I don't have customers, I have guests. So I treat everyone like a guest because you create guest experiences. And I've been doing some work with a Sede guest in Miami, who's won Emmys and all those types of things. And his comment to me was, he said, Steve, you've got to do one-to-ones in front of many. Now, everyone that's listening to this, listen to what I'm actually saying about how I'm deriving what I do based on what people are saying. So on one hand, the girls that work for us went out and actually went through all of the comments to derive the top 3 words out of everything that they saw. And all 4 of them did the exercise, inspiring, insights, wisdom. Then a couple of Sede guests, and people often say, never met anyone quite like you. This is amazing. Oh, all the things you've just said, you've made me think of things in a different way. So Matthew turned around and he said, Steve, you need to do one-to-ones in front of many. He said, because no one's going to be able to believe that they can ask you a question live on the spot and you can write the answers you write down on the whiteboard. Yeah. And then I watched a grand tour, the Top Gear show, and one of the guys did a funny little thing with a car on a lake, and the other one did this thing where he stood outside of a fancy restaurant and all these pretty girls came. And the whole thing was, how many views can you get on YouTube? So one guy did this crazy thing with a car. Jeremy Clarkson stood out front of some fancy restaurant in London with all these pretty girls thinking that would work. And then the last guy, I can't remember his name now, James May, he actually did the unboxing of a car. They completely packaged up into cardboard boxes like an IKEA box, this old beaten up car. One guy got 10,000, one guy got 20,000. The unboxing got 300,000. And I've never done an unboxing video because I always think if I'm going to buy an iPad or buy something, I don't want to watch the unboxing. I want to experience. I always fast forward and just look at the review. So I thought, what if I did a vertical camera on a whiteboard and did an unbox, and we're unboxing because people like it. So instead of unpackaging a product, we're going to unpackage people asking me questions one on one in front of many. And we then can listen to what I'm saying, everyone. Unboxing's popular, so we did vertical cameras onto a whiteboard. Then one of the Sede guests said, Steve, do one-to-ones in front of many. Then the girls who work for me actually came up with these 3 words: inspiring, insights, and wisdom. Today we'll do, or next week we'll do episode 22 of Inspiring Insights, where people come on the show one-to-one with me in front of many and ask me a question on a vertical whiteboard. What did I just explain, everyone? I just explained the people's experience of the impact I have on them, and I've turned it into a show.
You're
As
right.
opposed to, here are the 5 things you need to do, and here, can you please like me, and I'll appreciate everyone to try and get it.
Right.
So
Right.
inspiring insights that's what people say of me. Thank you, very gracious. The unboxing type thing everyone seems to like, cool. I have this way of being able to put things onto whiteboards, which is a gift, great.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to do one-to-ones in front of many. So people ring up, and sometimes when the screen appears and I see them, I've never, ever seen them before. And what they ask me, I'm hearing live, and then I'm writing.
But that is the instinctiveness, the intuitiveness. You are definitely coming from the heart and soul intellect.
Oh, absolutely.
I say that the knowingness is, the divine speaks to the gut, where the gut, I don't know why I know, I just know and I trust
Yep.
it. It goes to the heart in resonance, in truth. It goes to the spirit into action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And you're in tuned. You're in tuned with that. So when somebody asks you that question, you're not in your head. You're in your divine heart and spirit intellect that knows how to access the knowledge from the head in the moment and be able to lay it out in a way that makes sense and is an epiphany for other people.
Yeah, Peter asked me the other day, who moderates the show, Peter Clark from Red TV. There's a plug. Lovely, lovely man. Peter asked me a few shows back. He said, Steve, can you just repeat what you what you just said? And I looked up at him and went, you don't think I can actually remember this stuff, do you?
I'm with you there.
And no, when he said
You're in the now.
when he said it, I went, I don't know how this is working. So,
Yeah.
but for people listening, just to sort of surmise what I said and bring it down into some actionable points for you, because that's what I'm always about. Number 1, what are people saying about the experience of you? Number 2, what words are they describing for that experience? And number 3, what do you enjoy watching? Now, I don't necessarily go out looking for unboxing of videos and stuff, or the new iPads and iPhones, but I like the intrigue of it. It's kind of that exposing things. So number 1, what are people experiencing of you? Number 2, what are they saying about you? Capture it. And number 3, what's a way that you enjoy things being presented, and could you do your version of that based on the words that they use, based on the experience of what you are? And if you did that, you'll start becoming authentic. Now, you may not be able to answer questions on the spot on a whiteboard. I don't even know how I do it. I'm blessed to do it. It's a gift. Thank you.
Yes.
But what is the experience? What are the words, and what do you enjoy doing? And if you put those 3 together, you'll become inspiring, insightful, and people will call you wise.
I always go, the inspiration begets invitation, but it's the inspiration that's the ignition to the invitation. And the invitation is for them to step forth in their own life and apply and be engaged. I find so many people are chasing the outside and not just becoming at one with the inside. You clearly become at one with your inside, and that is the reason why you can be so insightful in the moment and be able to produce the wisdom. But that is a life's journey.
There's turmoil in here, trust me. There's turmoil in here.
But if you didn't have the turmoil, you wouldn't understand the problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You have to know the problems to understand what the solutions are. Nobody goes through life unscathed, but it's the lessons that we learn from the challenges that we're given in life. This is what we're here for, is to learn who am I because of this? Am I stronger? Am I wiser? Am I more creative? Do I have more abilities? Has it put me on the right path? And we had a conversation a few months ago, and the journey that you've taken in your life has literally taken you around the world. You've been quite an explorer, and most certainly of human nature, but all the experiences that you've had in your own life and those that you have been in contact with has been the gathering of your wisdom, the gathering of your knowledge. And then stepping into your knowingness with somebody asking you a question and the ability to see it in the now is
Yep.
because of you have allowed, right? You've allowed, and now you are igniting that inspiration in other people and inviting them to step forth in their own lives. That's a gift in itself.
Yeah, and the only layer I'd add to that is that you inspire people to think, and then you motivate them to act.
Yes.
And so
Yep.
there's a lot of people with some amazing rhetoric, and at the end of it, they go, "That's good. What do I do?"
Mm,
So what I'm always doing, and you'll see on the show where and we even do the masterclass and the tactic as the show kicks off, where it's all about here's some clarity and confidence. So when people ask me a question, I'm immediately going, what are they unclear about? Because if you haven't got clarity, you haven't got confidence. Let's
mm,
unpick the clarity. Let's unpick the clarity, polish the mirror, and let them see. Then they get confident, and as soon as I see it, then I go, good. Here's the 3 things I need you to do. And you'll say, here's your homework assignment. So I
right.
jokingly say to everyone, A, B, C, I want you to do these 3 things. And I'm looking at them and they're just sitting there going, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going, okay, good, wonderful. Then you see people writing things down, and they're the ones who join Soul Shifters. They're the ones who start sending
Yes.
me messages going, my life's changed. They're
Mm,
the ones who get onto the Sede Cafe after Soul Shifters and actually say, Steve, I can't conceive children. And I turn around and say, well, I dare you to see it as a gift, not a burden. What can you conceive?
right. Yeah.
And then you get voice notes from people like that. And the ones that are sitting there just watching going, that's really good. Thank you. That's really good. This is great. I've had my stardom. I've been on a TV show.
You're right.
You never hear from them again
No.
because most people are addicted to 2 things, addicted to opinion and addicted to vanity.
Yeah.
The small
Ego.
majority of the small majority of people are addicted to making a difference in someone else's life, and it's called humility.
Mm. For me, I kind of don't see the purpose of being here unless you're having an impact, a positive impact on lives, and being of a contribution. We're all here to be of a contribution with our own beautiful instrument. You know, our self-discovery is what is our instrument. And then
Yep.
once I've learned to play that instrument, which orchestra do I play it in? And do I play it
Yep.
in many orchestras? Um, it's that engagement with your own gift. I know what you mean about, you know, the people who are, oh yes, that's very profound, and boom, it's, you know, that's it.
I
It
I
stopped there.
appreciate you.
Yes, yes, and the people of, oh wow, you've just triggered something, you know, or you've
Yeah.
just set up a light bulb, and sometimes that's all, you know, as they say in a show, if somebody gets one thing that shifted them in
Mm.
another direction, hallelujah. If you get a few
Yeah,
things,
absolutely.
oh my goodness, you know, confetti. But it's about that shift into a right direction. And that's all we can do is just show people the way. The way you're doing it, which is really, really unique, as I said, the whiteboard master, is the fact that you can take something and you very eloquently and very quickly can go down there and put the diagram, do all the words, and you make concrete sense out of it. So, you know, somebody can have a brilliant dream, a brilliant idea, but they don't know how to put it together in a format. And you're able to format it into its, you know, its ABCs of what they can actually do about it. And I think that's what's missing in so many people's lives. I really want to do this and I'm really good at that. But I don't know how to put it in a format. And your whiteboarding does that. You show people where to
Okay.
go to focus
Yeah, but
on what direction.
if you think of the biggest thing in terms of the COVID thing, for example, if you think of the biggest thing that that disrupted everyone, wasn't the physical disruption of
Mm.
working from home, and it wasn't even the fear that, you know, we're all going to be like the zombie land in that Brad Pitt movie recently, or in the last 10 years about
World War
World War
Z.
Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, where everyone was falling over in the street and turning into savages and things. And God forbid, well, thank God that didn't happen. But no, when
There's
we were all
plenty of
told to,
Walking Dead out there, love.
yeah, yeah. When we were first told to go and work from home, for the people who didn't have any experience of that, it wasn't the issue about whether there was this pandemic and I could catch it and die. There was that concern underneath, but it was this whole thing of, and here's the key, everyone, all of a sudden the steps of getting up, getting changed, getting in a car, bus, or train, and going to the office and clocking in, and then clocking out at lunchtime and clocking back in, and then clocking out and doing the same. The steps
Mm,
that Stephen DeSadie would say, here's your ABC homework assignments, the steps of that system and process of living got disrupted. And all of a sudden people are going, I don't know what to do.
right.
And the reality is, in terms of your comment about people just need to get one thing, the average human brain can only actually absorb one thing. It doesn't mean people are stupid.
No,
It doesn't.
they've got to
Um,
digest.
Yeah, so when I'm doing the show and stuff like that, I part of the reason I stop and go to the ABCs and call it homework assignments, I'm actually surmising because I know you can't understand what I just did. And it's
Mm.
not because I'm smarter than you. It's not.
It's
I'm just
reiterating, isn't it? It's
it's
refining,
no, it's
reiterating
giving
in a way.
it's giving people the stepping stones to
Right.
act, which is
Yeah.
the difference between inspired, because I'm now inspired. I feel really good. Inspired to think or motivated to act, because they're two different things.
Yeah.
They're two
Everybody's looking
very different
for
things.
a solution they can act on. So, it's present the problem. What is the obstacle?
Yep.
And then present the various steps that you can take that's creating the solution. But now you
Yep.
know what to do. Now you've actually got to get up and do something. And
Yep.
that means take the first step, because it's always the first steps that's the hardest.
Yep.
Take that first step, move forward, uh, follow that structure, and you'll create even your own after that. But if you're stuck on how to move forward, just take the first step. Everything becomes easier after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, this is a foundational kind of universal law of the Sede land. The average want the answer, the elite build a solution.
Yes.
So when I'm talking to people, I'm looking at them, and for everyone out there, I'm not labeling people as average because I think everyone's beautiful. I'm in a love affair with humanity. So, but I just understand some people are the way they are. I'm a card carrying member of I Love the Girls Clubs. I think women are beautiful and stuff, and I've got some great friends who are gay, and I think they're fantastic
Mm-hmm.
too. So even though that's not my choice, it doesn't mean that they're any less than me. If someone's average because they just want the answer, it doesn't mean they're any less than me. And guess what? I still give them the answer. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is start getting into a situation that if someone gives you the answer, what's a system I can build around that? Yeah, but Steve, I
Yes.
don't understand what you mean. How do you get up in the morning and get to work? That's a system.
Mm-hmm.
How do you actually treat your children and get them to do the disciplines? That's a system. As opposed to, well, I'm going to ask someone to inspire me to think and then sit there and go, thanks. When was the last time your child came to you and asked you a question at that development stage of their life where they're kind of like moving into the next stage? The lady, for example, who rang me this morning to say her 6-year-old daughter just came with this profound thing about, I'm starting to understand that daddy's not around, but it's okay. It's just me and you. And think, okay, how do you, and I wrote back to her some sort of bits and pieces. So to everyone that's listening, just because I say average, it doesn't mean you're less. It just means that those people have accepted I'm going to absorb something, listen to it, go, that's lovely, and then go about doing the same thing. And repetition is the mother of skill. And most people's repetition is just to take the answer, go, that's lovely, and go on. And then wonder 10 years later why life hasn't changed.
Mm. I think we're both seers in different ways, and I'll have conversations with people, and then I'm able to see, oh, this is a good avenue, that's a good avenue. Have you
Yep.
thought about this? Have you thought about that? And it's just because I could see possibilities. And
Mm.
not everybody can, because not everybody's wired that way. Maybe they're the actual doers. You could see the possibilities. They're the actual people that can get out and go and do it, but they just couldn't
Yep.
see what it was. We've all got something, but it's about coming together, and collaborating. This area is my weakness. So why am I trying to build that up? Why don't I concentrate on my strength, find somebody where my weakness is their strength, and look at collaborating together?
Yep. Yeah, this is 4, 5, 6, Cafe 6 in 3 weeks' time. We're doing a thing called and the show will point towards this. We're doing a thing called leadership versus followship.
Mm,
Not everyone's a leader in
yeah,
terms of what you said. Everyone's looking for something. People, not everyone is a leader, but we seem to be thinking we need to teach everyone leadership. No, we don't. Everyone has leadership. The way that you're presented today, the way that every single person's presented. Personal leadership is the ability to go to work, not stark naked, because you've got up, you've brushed your teeth, you've done your level of personal hygiene, whatever that is for you, your personal presentation, whatever that is for you. That's personal leadership. No one told you to get out of
yeah,
bed at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. So everyone has a fundamental level of leadership within themselves, and it's called personal dignity, morals, character, values. So they don't walk down the street stark naked without their makeup on or shaved or whatever it is for trim beard, whatever it is for guys. But not everyone's a leader.
no,
So there's a lot of people out there going, what do I actually do? So they want to follow. So one of the things we're doing in Sede land now is we're getting very focused on how to teach people to follow And the first thing about fellowship is to be very wary of what you're following.
That is a key one.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know if you know about True Colors, the four key personality traits. And there
Go
is,
for it.
one section, of course, that is very much the followers.
Yeah.
They're very, very good at taking the instructions and building from there. They don't want to make the choices. They don't want the responsibility of that leadership, but they do take the lead when you actually give them something to do. And they're very, very good at the structure and the building of it.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has an aptitude that we're really, really good on. And as you said, if we're everybody's a leader, then all you have is everybody trying to lead everyone and nobody being able to delegate or follow or get anything done because everybody's trying to be the leader.
Yeah, but
We're all leaders in our own
most
department.
most people are very good managers and they're very poor leaders, but they
Yeah.
like to think that I'm a leader. No, you're not. The best leaders in the world you can't see.
Mm, they're the conductors.
Yeah, I mean, it would be easy for people to see Stephen to say he's a great leader. No, I'm not. I'm a great cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to follow me. I want you to follow you. I don't want you to follow me and call me your leader. I want you, because if you go back to what you just said, people get given something, what I call system and schedulers, but people get given something and then they take leadership of that. No, they follow the system they've been given. So they never stop being a follower, but they've been given this system and they'll go and actually personally lead themselves in this for the same reason they don't walk down the street naked without brushing their teeth, because they've taken personal leadership. And what do? They wake up in the morning and these are the sequences I need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Right down to a 45-year-old man will tie his shoelaces the way his grandfather told him.
Right. Yeah.
So, or granddaughter,
And call
grandma.
it tradition.
Yeah, and which is beautiful and it's
Yeah.
great. And there's all kinds of honor in it and everything like that. So one of the biggest things is that people need to be released from the thing that I've got to lead someone. No, you don't. You need to actually either be a leader, if that's what you choose to be, or be a follower and be really good at one or the other.
A leader needs to turn around and be reliant on the people that are their team
Hmm.
and be able to give an instruction where that person understands what that instruction is and
Yep.
get it done or delegate whatever it is need to be
Yep.
done. They are the followers, but they're also, again, kind of their own leaders. We're not meant to be in everything alone. We are meant to be together, I'm not really a team person. However, I support teams. I'm a
Mm.
solo person, always have been, that little wanderer. I seem to move every 3 years into yet another place. I'd love to settle down, but I don't know if it's in my cards. I go
Mm.
with the wind, right? And there are other people that are very, very good pack people. And they're very good at kind of supporting one another, and they're that rock of Gibraltar for each other, which is wonderful. But they can get very, very stuck into a routine, and anybody comes along and wants to shift that, it's very, very hard for them to go out of it. I like things the way they are. Don't rock the boat. Who do they think they are? I was one of those. I
Yep.
call myself a shoot disturber, not because I go in to do that. It's just that the way I, come in and see things is generally something that is meant to be a disruptor to move things into a different direction.
Yeah.
And being in a different direction and being willing to take a different ingredient in your recipe is okay, isn't it? But a lot of people are very scared of change.
A lot
Like,
of people, a lot of people, the whole concept of change to me, it's part of the reason I paused just then. People aren't, I don't think people are afraid of change per se. It's a kind of a label. It's a little bit like when in the olden days people wore armor and they, like the knights of
mhm,
the round table, they wore armor. Today, people's armor is to tell you how busy they are.
mhm,
And I turn around and go, wow, you must be getting you must be getting so much done. And the look on their face is called the truth. Because
right.
our default position is, you won't believe how busy I am. I had a guy recently tell me that he was just this entrepreneur. I live the entrepreneur life, Steve, and I'm just flat out. But at 5:30 every day, I've got to stop because that's the end of my day. And I'm going, okay, it's 3:30 on a Sunday, and I'm still going sometimes. That's just me and
Mhm,
my life and what I have around me in terms of life with family and all those things. Which I don't have all that stuff, so I'm able to do that, which is cool. But most people's default position about change is, I'm afraid of change. No, they're not. They're afraid of their ability to actually embrace anything that's different.
mhm.
because the people who embrace change are the ones that are so rock solid about who they are. And they've decided, am I a leader? Am I a follower? Have I made a decision about what types of things I want to lead with? Have I made a decision about the type of people I want to follow? And then, therefore, when change comes along, they're very detailed or very structured within their own confidence as to who they are. Most people see change as a challenge to confidence they don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, and so people will just default to go, oh, you won't believe how busy I am. Oh, okay. Everyone out there, the next time someone says to you, you won't believe how busy I am, say, wow, you must be getting a lot done. And the change on their face is called the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing as well is that don't be afraid of change. Actually make sure, when you're driving down the road and there's a Y junction in the motorway, the freeway, the highway, whichever way you describe it in your part of the world, you never lose confidence that the car will go left and right and the indicator will work. You've made a decision of where I'm going. You're clear that I'm going to take the left hand or the right hand side, etc., etc. And most people, if they put themselves as the vehicle and came to a Y junction in the road, they'd be terrified and stop because they don't have the confidence that the indicator, the steering wheel, and the pedal will work.
Mm-hmm.
And oh God, I'm afraid of change. No, you're not. You're unsure as to whether you can make the turn.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're driving down the road and someone says, oh, you need to go left or right, and you're driving along, and I was doing this yesterday with a friend here, and I don't live in Sydney normally. It's COVID's got me based here. And I was talking to a really good friend of mine who's a long-time Uber driver, and I said, you won't believe, should I take Concord Road or should I go to the Olympic Stadium? And he went, where are you? And I told him, he goes, yeah, you turn left and take the first right, because he just knows the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't unsure about which way to go. I just needed you to tell me whichever way I'll go. And if one's quicker, I'll take that one. If I get it wrong, I'll still be okay.
Right.
Most people's adoption of change is the first expression of confidence. And most people aren't confident because they're too busy trying to outsource their identity to the addictive opinion of others.
Right. Yes.
And I jokingly say this to everyone, and I'm dead serious about it, but I say it jestfully because it's pretty full on. If everyone is having an opinion of everyone else, when does anyone stop long enough to actually have an opinion of themselves?
Well,
and that's why I often say on the show, I don't care what you think of me. I don't,
right.
because I'm so dedicated to caring about what you think of you. I don't need to care what you think of me. Because I'm not going to hurt anyone, because I'm desperately trying to make you the best you can be, desperately trying to make this interview or podcast or discussion we're having little nuggets for people to take away, rather than to have a rhetoric of impressive language. But yeah, what does that mean to me? Get up in the morning and ask yourself, what's the experience? What are the words people say? What do I like as a way of expressing myself? And start using that, and you'll have your version of inspiring insights. There you go. There's a tactical toolkit. What's your impact on people? Go and ask people, everyone, write this question down. Go and find 3, 4, 5 people that you really admire, whether they're people that you do life with, whether they're friends, whether they're colleagues, whether they're returning clients, whatever, or guests in my land, and ask them this question: what is my impact on your humanity? Humanity defined as the quality of being human. So Sarah, what's my, we don't need to do this right now. So using the names, it was, hey Sarah, it's Steve, just got to ask you a question. This really strange man in Australia said, I need to ask you this question. What is my impact on your humanity, the quality of you being human? When we're together and we're doing things, or when I'm saying things, or you're watching my show, what is the impact on you being a better human being? And everyone, they won't tell you what you do, they'll tell you who you are. And everyone who does it goes, that's a bit strange. I can't do that, Steve. The very first lady, Lisa, bless her, for my hire 3 years ago did it. She initially said, I can't do that, Steve. 3 or 4 weeks later, I got a PDF with 36 paragraphs of 36 different people. And she said, Steve, it just made me cry. I never knew I had impact on people like that.
Right.
Go and ask people, what is my impact on your humanity? Humanity is defined as the quality of being human. And this strange man told me to ask you, and I'm doing it again, everyone. He just said, what's the impact on that I have on you, whether it's when we're hanging out as friends, when we go out, when we play sport, when you're watching my podcast? What's the impact on the quality of you being human? What is it? And then everyone shush up and listen, because they're about to tell you what you should go tell the world.
Yeah.
Bang. That in the toolkit is the most definitive way of creating some type of personal brand, where everyone else will be going, what's your narrative and all that stuff. And there's a whole bunch of training we do on that as well. But very, very simply, Sarah's asked me to come on this show, which is very kind and gracious of her, because she sees what I do and the impact I have on others. And she just wanted to know what's behind it, which is very kind. But the origins of why she's asked me is, why is it, Steve, that you're so dedicated to helping people? You know why? Because that's Sarah's passion too.
Yes. No, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, I think one of the difficult things for people is to actually step into their heart and let their heart show. If you have a conviction for something and have a passion for something, your heart's got to be in it. And if you really want to get out there and share, then the heart is what you're going to show. And so many people are so scared to show that heart. They're vulnerable. And I think your vulnerability is the greatest gift you can give anyone. I'm not offended if you don't like me, if I'm not your cup of tea. You know, I might be somebody's strong cup of black coffee. Um, you know, it is, I'm a required taste, but I'm not going to apologize for being me. I'm Sarah. I come from the heart. I will speak my truth. And my passion and conviction is to ignite your heart and soul and your spirit to be all the glorious person that you really are, to see it for yourself and to apply it to your life. And you do it your way. And because that's your gift, I do it my way. And that's the point, isn't it? Why don't we simplify things? What is your gift? That's your heart, soul, given gift. Get connected with it, with the heart. The heart will guide you. The
Yeah,
heart will
but
lead you.
a lot of people are running around like it's an Indiana Jones film looking for the Holy Grail called their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that's listening, go out and ask people. And you're not going to repeat what I just said, but everyone's going, "Oh no, I've got to find my purpose," or how do I? To Sarah's beautiful question a moment ago is how do I connect and work out of my heart, or however you pronounced it. But the simple way, if you want to know how to operate out of your heart, go and find the people who come when you've got a birthday, who are the first ones to ring when they find out that maybe your parents have passed, are the first ones to ring that find out that there was God forbid, there was a bomb went off in your city or something stupid happened or whatever. And they're the first ones on the call to find out, are you okay? They're
Right.
the first ones to ring you on your birthday, the first ones to ring at Christmas. When you're in their top 10 list when they've just announced that they're going to have a baby. All of those big, beautiful, heartfelt occasions
Mm-hmm.
in life, you're on their top 10 list. Go and ask them, what is it about my heart that makes you, that has me in your top 10 list of heartfelt people? If you don't know how to engage your heart, go and find those who embrace yours.
Right.
And
Yes.
and oh yeah, but Steve, you've got all this magical gift, and you can write on whiteboards, and you're really eloquent, and you've travelled all over the world. You know what, everyone? I lived for a hermit for the last 10 years, and we've done 21 shows, not 210 shows. I've got
Mm.
11,000 videos on my computer. I've never shown anyone because I didn't think I was good enough, until someone told me, why don't you do one-to-ones in front of many, and why don't you start actually speaking your truth live and show people what you do? Okay. And now all of these people say, you're amazing, Steve. I'm not amazing. I just failed in front of you until I worked out how I could help you.
Right.
Stop trying to think you need to have the answer before you front up and ask someone else for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything I just said was, what's the impact? What are the words? Inspiring insights. It's very wise. One-to-one in front of many. My show is basically at the instruction of people who experience me. And
Mm.
then everyone's going, I've got to create my show. I've got to create my job. I've got to create my life. I've got to create my business. I've got to create my relationships. I've got to have my house. I've got to dress like this and do like this and drive like this. Why? Oh, well, because I'm trying to fit in. Don't fit in. Just be you. And how do you be you? I don't know how to be me, Steve. How do you be heart-centered? Go and ask the people who think you're heart-centered.
Yes.
Go and ask them.
Yeah.
Oh, it's easy for you to say, Steve, well, hang on, time out. That's exactly what I did.
Right.
Inspiring
Yes.
insights is because that's what people say. You're very inspiring, Steve. It's very insightful. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll call the show Inspiring Insights. I'm not smart enough to come up with what I am, so I went and asked others, what should I be?
Mm.
And what they told me, and you might go, well, isn't that oxymoron to what you just said, Steve? You're asking them what you should be. No, I asked them, what are they experiencing of me? Because that's me being me.
Right.
I'm on a mission to destroy people's doubt, and I just refuse to let anyone to think they're less than what they are. I just refuse. I won't allow it.
Yes, or to apologize for who they are, you know, or this this whole thing that you need to live up to somebody else's perception of who you are.
Gotcha.
You know, you're a hermit for 10 years, you've traveled, you've had your own struggles, but while doing that, you made these videos, you wrote down your insights, you allowed the knowledge and the wisdom to come to you. You were just looking for a way to express it. And when somebody, one in front of the many, gave you that idea of how to actually present it, because when we last spoke, you were kind of still in a little bit of a flux there of where you were going. And now, seeing you on LinkedIn with all that you're doing, and I've seen a few of your videos, and obviously a lot of the small ones as well, because I comment on them. And I think it's what people need right now. They need encouragement. They need pushing. They need the answers that they can actually apply to themselves. You're not giving them solutions, that is the answer. You're giving them a different way to see themselves, because there lies the answer. So it's kind of mirroring back to them. What do you see? And if you don't like what you see, what are you going to do to change it? What's the dialogue we're going to have with ourselves? I've been through the same roller coaster of bending myself into a pretzel to live up to everybody else's expectation of what Sarah should be. And, at some point I said, just forget it. I am what I am. I love Popeye's statement. You can take me or leave me. I'm enough in my own little world, and I will just go out there, one show at a time, one conversation at a time. And I either have an impact or I don't. It doesn't matter, because I'm doing it from the heart. I'm doing it because I care. And if you can bring some caring, kindness, and heart into the situation, you'll actually understand where the passion is. And where the passion is where the conviction is. And that will lead you forward in everything you want to do in life.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that I was waiting for someone else's opinion of me. I'd worked out through the things that I did and the successes that I had that I was capable of doing things. My issue, and this is a really important message for everyone, my issue is that when I left West Australia and I went to London, and I didn't have IT experience, I didn't have project management experience. I was 35. I'd basically been an insurance guy coming out of school. I didn't do too particularly well academically. So I just decided I'd go to England, because that was a smart thing to do. Walk into England, no IT experience, no project management qualifications, no security clearance. And within 9 months, I finally got a job. And then 3 years later, I was running my own consultancy, starting buying property, and all kinds of wonderful things happened. And then when all of that fell apart, and my marriage fell apart and everything, and I basically gave everything away, I then tried to commit suicide, and then came back to Australia, basically financially and emotionally bankrupt. Mm-hmm. So here's the point, everyone. I'd convinced myself, how could I possibly say, as I do on all my videos, be well and be brilliant? Humanity needs you. And I'm thinking at that stage, 49, 50, and now up to 57, who needs a cheerleader, motivator, mentor, coach who had all this success and lost it all, who doesn't have a wife, doesn't have a house, doesn't have children, doesn't really live anywhere, and had all of this great life and then lost it all? My issue wasn't about getting someone to tell me what I should do, or someone's opinion of me. My issue was accepting the responsibility. The fact that I know what it's like to be bankrupt, and I know what it's like to helicopter into Monaco on race day. The fact that I have those two extremes makes me an example for, I don't have children, but people keep asking me about their kids. I don't know. So the message to everyone is, what is the example of your, not just durability, but your relentless determination to learn?
Yeah.
Because people want to know that. Yeah. So to your point, Sarah, it wasn't about that I sat around for 10 years thinking I need to get people's opinion. Do you really have the right to tell people to be well and be brilliant, when most people would think, on the scale of the social calendar, if I did go to opinions, or not calendar, but the social checklist, if you're 57 without kids, without house, without a wife, without all of those things, and you've just come out of bankruptcy and emotional bankruptcy and suicide, most people, opinion orientated, would think the last thing that Stephen de Sede is any attribute that can help me. And yet we do the show, and people get up at 2 and 3 in the morning all over the world just to watch it. And it's recorded. You can watch it the next morning over a cup of coffee at 10, and they still get up. De Sede cafes run at 10 a.m. Saturday mornings. About this time tomorrow, people will get up in South Africa and get up in early morning in 4:30 in Delhi, and people will get up in Europe at 11 and 1 o'clock in the morning just to sit and hang around and hear me talk about I've still got it and joke around, and then every now and then just give some coaching advice. So the biggest thing for me is, and a message to everyone, stop assuming that people's opinion of what you have or have not, it is the intangible, relentless desire to help that becomes the essence of be well and be brilliant.
Right.
It's
And,
got nothing, because I've had people who are married with kids, with houses, with cars going, I wish I was like you, Steve. And I'm going, really? Have you told the mother of your children that?
Yes, yes. Yeah. I always say the best teachers are those that have gone through it. You're relatable. You're not talking from this high success and this big drive and everything else.
Put in your details and I'll tell you how to get this pool. You know exactly what I mean.
Yeah. Failure is wonderful. I actually don't really call it failure. I just call it life lessons. I think failure is to get stuck in it and not learn from it, not rise from it.
Very true.
I have probably, quote, failed or been redirected, and God knows how many times in my life, because I'm an explorer. I backed a new electric motor technology that was absolutely brilliant. It's still brilliant, but it was the wrong time. Bankruptcy landed up in my car. And, then it was like, oh my God, where am I going now? Yes, I had that moment, total depression. What am I doing with my life? And then out of that came an offer for me to be a podcaster on another network. So you never know what doors are going to open. I didn't even know what a podcast was. I didn't, it was live, 13 months live, and everything can go wrong. It was a great training ground. And then I really loved this. This is where I'm meant to be. And I started my own network. If you're not willing to try something, if you're not willing to explore, you're never going to actually know why you fell in the first place. Yes. Get back up. The legs are going to be shaky. You don't even know what direction you're going in right now, but just put a damn foot forward and you'll find there's a door open for you for another wonderful experience. And yes, you may fall again, but every time you get back up, how strong I am, how courageous I am, the abilities I didn't know I had, the skills that I'd sold myself short on that I didn't know I had. And you start applying them, and then you really start really understanding what your life is really about. But you've got to be willing to experience it.
Yeah, I often say that the 3 stages of change, and this is just my language for it, but the 3 stages of change is, the first is to be aware, the second is to have the courage to act, and the third is to forgive yourself and go back to the first. So for everyone that's listening, we've talked about what's the experience that you have on people, what are the words that they use, and what do you enjoy as a means of communication, and put those 3 together. The second thing that, and there's been a bunch of others, but another key issue, just going on what Sarah's just said, go and find. Human beings are very competitive, very curious, and very compassionate, but our compassion is usually triggered by 9/11, tidal waves, tsunamis after Christmas Day, the COVID issue, for example, a school shooting, sadly, in America more often than need be, or terrorist actions around the world. That triggers compassion. And when COVID first came along, it triggered compassion, and compassion went to the top, and now it's dropped to the bottom.
I know.
Sadly. But one of the things, going back to Sarah's point, one of the most important things that you can do is go and look for practitioners of what you admire. Let me say it again. Go and look for practitioners of what you admire, because everyone will say, well, you've got to go and find your purpose, or you've got to go and do this, or just take action and just get out there and go. And you go, yeah, great. And they come off this podcast, or come off the communication, or come off a video, or wherever they see this inspiring thing and go, now what do I do? Go and find practitioners of what you admire.
Yes.
What people that, like Sarah, that if you think, podcasting would be really good, reach out to her, because you know what? You'll reach out and ask her a question about, I think this might be a good idea for me, and all you will do is trigger in the soul of Sarah, I remember asking the same question. Mm-hmm. I remember speaking to some really, really successful people in an event in Melbourne years ago now. And I walked up and I actually asked the guy, I said, is it okay for us to chat? And this guy was like a squillionaire type, very, very important person in the context of what this thing was. And he went, yeah, he said, you've just broken the ice, be quick. He said, the higher you get, the more isolated you are, because people won't come and ask. He said, be quick. He said, because you've opened the floodgates. And I spoke to him for probably a minute, minute and a half, and all of a sudden he got swamped.
Mm.
But
Mm.
no one would walk up to him in the first instance. Everyone out there, don't be surprised that if you reach out with sincerity and in the correct way to someone who you think is really successful, but would never want to talk to you or give you any advice, the really true practitioners, the Sarahs of this world, they may not go and give you 3 hours of their time for free, but they will certainly respond by giving you some direction based on the experience of theirs.
Yes, because that's
Because
what we have
all
to give.
because all wisdom is your absorbed
Mm.
experience of the truth. Let me say it again, your absorbed experience of the truth. It's the reason why people who are successful have journals. It's the reason why people who come on different shows, I'm surrounded by pens here and I'll be writing stuff down if I need. But one of the things is be an absorb the experiences of life, because if you absorb it, refine it, ask practitioners about it, you'll start becoming wise yourself. Most people never reach wisdom because they never absorb the truth of their experiences.
Right. Again, I go back to the, the statement that the best teachers are those that have gone through it.
Hmm.
And I will say that 98% of the people that I've interviewed are people who have embraced their redirect in life,
Yep.
found that meaningful purpose through going through whatever they had to go through. And in that self-discovery, had found their calling, their heart-centered calling.
Yep.
And now with whatever they're doing, they're there to do whatever it is they do, inspire whatever they do. If you're looking for someone over mental health, then go and listen to the shows where people talk about their own struggles and what
Hmm.
they did that helped them. And maybe there's something there that will help you. If you're inspired by their show and what they've had to say and you resonate with them, you now feel more
Practitioners.
free to reach out to them, right? That's
Absolutely.
what it's about. Don't
Yeah.
just listen and go, well, what now? Go, I'm really inspired. I need to reach out. Be proactive in your life. Don't wait for
Yeah.
everything to come to you like an Amazon delivery.
Yeah. There's people out there with 3, 4, 500,000 followers. Doesn't matter who they are,
Yeah,
who have approached me about buying my academy so they can watch the videos and regurgitate it in their way.
right.
Give me a 10% commission on the academies because I've got a bigger following than you, and then tell everyone they're going to teach them about content and everything, and they produce all their content off a $25 app.
Mm,
And I'm thinking, well, how much truth's that?
right.
So one
Yeah.
of the things you be my, and I think Sarah's point's beautiful, and I'm so glad you made it, and I'm so glad you made it because I heard it. Because one of the things that's really important, to go to Sarah's point, go and find practitioners that got punched in the face of life.
Yes.
It's an uncomfortable thing to say to a lady. I'm not saying to,
Nope,
but in the
nope,
company of a
nope.
lady.
Beaten
So
up, fell on your ass,
yeah,
got the
but
cosmic 2x4.
there you go. Thank you, beautiful, for making me feel better as a gentleman. Go and find people who have been kicked in the butt, punched in the face, thrown down to the ground, and got up, and they're practitioners.
Yes.
Don't go and find people who are practitioners because you don't know how wafer thin their practice is.
Right.
The
Wow.
only way you can find depth in practitioners is to find the ones that have got the guts to say, I did think I was really successful. I did go to England. I did start again. I walked into England with no experience, and
Mm,
5 years later I did really well. I did all of those things. Then my marriage failed because I turned my marriage into a commercial partnership and poured money over it in the space of 3 years. And before I knew it, I thought taking my wife for a £6,000 coffee break in central London, I should have taken her for a popcorn fight on Saturday and told her I loved her in Green Park.
right.
And I
Exactly.
didn't. And the
Yeah.
end result is I lost the love of my life because I got so focused and I got distracted from what was real and what was important. So get practitioners that are prepared to tell you not their war stories, but their success stories wrapped in failure.
Oh, but you've just described my shows because
Yeah.
I can tell you, I've interviewed some people that have left a mark on me where I go, I don't know how you got back up after what happened to you. I don't know how you could still be in heart despite what's happened to you. And yet there they are, lovingly. They acknowledge what they've been through. They can talk about what they've been through, but they no longer attach the pain to what they've been through. They look at it as the lesson they needed to learn to become who they are today. And every single one of them said, I would not regret anything that's ever happened to me because who I am today, I love who I am, and what I'm doing. And that's where we all want to be, right? We want to love who we are, what we're doing, and that what we're doing is with passion and with love and with conviction, and is having an impact on someone else, somewhere else.
I mean, there's a video somewhere that I did, which we were originally going to do, where one of the girls would ask me a question and I'd answer it. And I made it and to music and stuff. And then we were going to voice over the top of it. And she contacted me. She said, just leave it the way that it is. And it was basically the journey from 07 to 14 and what I learnt. And one of the questions it was on the presumption she'd ask me a question verbally and I'd answer. And in the end, we just left it as a visual, was one more, what did you learn? Solitude, all that type of stuff. The solitude of your conviction is the loneliest place in the world, and stuff
It's the
like
only
that.
place that we'd rather be.
Yeah, and then there was one question which said, one question, if I gave you a magic wand, 3 wishes, what would you wish for? And my answer was I'd give, and I was bankrupt at the time. I was living out of other people's places, and my answer was I'd give it back. I have everything I could wish for. But yet I could walk down all the different main streets, Fifth Avenue, Pitt Street here in Sydney, whatever the main street is in Vancouver. I could walk down all of the main corporate streets. And if there was such a thing, if this was actually a magic wand, people with houses, people with children, people with wives, people with superannuation, people with pensions, people with a job, they would be crawling out of the buildings, fighting themselves to get to it if this actually was a magic wand.
Right.
And I'm walking down the street financially and emotionally bankrupt and I'm trying to give it away. Forget about whether it's true or not, because the magic wand is you.
Yes.
And most people are trying to find something that's got a magic wand. So I only said the other day to a lady, a Sede guest I was coaching, and she was saying, I wish I could change things. And I went, good, hold this, it's a magic wand. And I had the remote to the TV with me at the time. I said, here it is. You can actually go back and change this problem from 15 years ago. Yeah, good. But you have to trade in one of your kids or maybe all 3 of them, because you don't know if you change that point in your life, you might eradicate the fact that you would have had your children, given that the kids didn't exist back then. So here's the wand, and the price is, which one of your kids are you prepared to trash?
Right.
And I use the and everyone. I'm not an unkind person, but sometimes you need to interrupt.
Yes.
Which one of your children would you trash because you think the mistake you made 12 years ago before they existed is the reason why you can't get on with your life? And the answer was, no, Steph, I can't. I love my children. Good. Then stop radiating this disappointment about what they had nothing to do with.
Right.
Everyone start getting real about where your life is, because you could spend a lot of time regretting and nothing's going to change.
Regret is it's futile. It's done. The milk is spilt. Whop it up. Learn from it. Make sure you don't make that same mistake again, though you probably will in a different format and from a different angle. It's get real with yourself. As I said, Popeye, I am what I am, and I make no apologies for it. I've got many flaws, but I'd rather be flawsome than awesome, because awesome means you've got to live up to some expectation. Flawsome means take me with all my flaws, and it's the flaws. I mean, we look at a diamond, and if it's got a flaw in it, it's actually worth more. So why can't we look at the flaws of people and say your beautiful experiences, your wonderful flaws, your misdirections have made you who you are today, and you are a beautiful gem. Yep. Why do we look at, man, they failed, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and you judge them on that? Who are you to judge, for a start? And what did they make out of that? That's what you look at, who they are today, despite what happened to them in the past. We've all got that journey. I have a lovely roller coaster of life, and I'm still living it. And there's a show I listened to yours a couple of days ago, and it is one actually where you talked about the income. You were talking with not Annie Attitude, but somebody else, I think, that was on the same program, about charging, and the way you give away so much free information.
Yes.
And then people are going, I want more, but now you're saying there's a monetary gain to that, and it's and all of a sudden they step back. It's that I'm a giver too. I give, but somewhere along the line you should value what I give and then appreciate by giving back, which might be a monetary product. That's respect, I think.
Yes, it is. Just a one line on regret. Regret is the jailer of opportunity. If you have regret, don't expect opportunity to come knocking at your door, because it'll never knock on the door because it just doesn't want to meet regret. So it's pretty simple in that way. I do remember that conversation and everything. And one of the things I pride myself on, Sarah, this ability for me to answer questions on the spot is just a flat out gift. I
Your
just
calling.
happened for it. No, not even a calling. It's a gift. It is just a flat out gift to me. And if you want to call it a calling, I respect that. But to me, it's just a gift. And go with me in terms of why I say this. It is such a gift of mine. I don't believe, and I understand where I got it from, and that's whether it's God, serendipity, the universe, whichever it is. I know which it is for me, and others can have their interpretation of that. But I can't help but think that I was given this gift, and it didn't say at the back, but make sure you get them to give you their name and email address before they can get access to it. So one of the things I've made as a commitment to myself, and maybe this is a thing of age, or maybe it's just me being me, because I've always been like this. Sede Land is a platform for everyone where no one gets left behind. So we are building an infrastructure where you have, like the Sede Cafe, will never charge for that. If people want to come on and be able to hang out and ask me questions, cool. I'll be the judge of whether people are coming on and trying to get free coaching and stuff. The show, there's obviously only 2 people can get on the show at once and everything, but the show and Sede Cafe will always be free. Soul Shifters will always be free. If you then want to start doing things above that, fine.
Yes.
Because in just a comment for everyone to reflect on, in my world, I believe this was a gift that was just by complete lottery I got. And nowhere does it say that I should charge everyone for it.
Right.
So the end result for me is I'm building a platform inside of Sede Land where if you want to be around Steve and never pay anything, you can, but you can also invest if you wish. And all I need to do is make sure, because what happens is people at the cafe and soul shifters level start actually saying, hey Steve, I've just bought this monstrously expensive course. Can you help me? Because I don't understand, and I've learnt more from you in 2 cafe hangouts than I have with them. And they're now wanting free advice on how to fix what they've bought. And that's it's not respectful.
Right.
So from my point of view, the whole attitude towards what I do is Sede Land is a place for everyone where no one gets left behind. But everyone, don't be so gracious about your giving that you forget to give to yourself. And if you want to know what that looks like, I can show you the way I've lived in the last 9 years, and it's not right. Let me ask yourself this, everyone: would I allow anyone to live the way I'm living? Would I allow anyone to actually live by the standards that I've allowed myself to live by? And I'm asking you, ask that of yourself. Would I allow anyone, would I do what I'm asking that person to do? Would I actually behave the way I'm asking that person to behave? Would I allow that person to live the way that I'm living? If the answer is no, don't offer it, don't be an example of it, and don't express it. I wouldn't allow anyone to live the way that I'm living. I just wouldn't, or have been living. So my attitude is, you know what, Steve, you've got to start being an example of everything.
Right.
So if I tell people the stuff that I'm talking about and on the masterclasses and the tactics, I'm doing them.
Yes.
What is your truth? What is the truth of the expression of what you want to do? And if it doesn't focus on others, you're a vanity vampire seeking someone else's child's passing after 159 days. I appreciate you, because you're just going around to as many platforms as you can to get as many likes and comments as you can, and you're using someone else's potential heartache as your algorithm trigger, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Right. Yes. Yes, you're speaking
Anyway.
to the choir here.
Yeah.
It's
No.
it,
So the biggest thing for me was not waiting for someone's opinion on what I should do. The biggest thing, and this is a message to everyone: are you prepared to accept the responsibility of what you're prepared to do? Are you prepared to accept the responsibility of the giftedness that you've been given? Because Sarah's right, everyone has a gift.
yes.
You got it at conception, and then spent the rest of your life trying to work out how to give it away by denying it. I want you to give it away by accepting it. And they sound so much the same, but they're 2 completely different things. Most people need to accept their gift. Most people are trying to give it away under the banner of, here's an email, I'll give me your details. You shouldn't have to give anyone anything except your best. And don't be surprised when the best people in life come after you.
Yes, that's very, very true. I I will say that, one of my challenges and my obstacles is in the in the monetary game because, especially through COVID, I was charging for my interviews, and I know that so many coaches and everybody else is struggling right now with their own business.
Yep.
So I didn't charge, and now I do it by donation. And I always leave things up to other people's consciousness. I can't force people to do anything. I can only invite them to. But I
Yep.
do have certain programs that are categorically paid for. And that's that. And if you want to go there, then great. You're going to pay for that program. And if you don't want to, I respect that as well. But it is all of these shows are absolutely free to the listeners, as I think they should be, because I think wisdom, knowledge should be free. But if you
Yep.
want to take it further as a tutorial, as a teaching, then the services should be paid for, and that goes for anybody that you're listening to. Do not take people for granted.
Mm-mm.
Everybody has a living to make, and everybody um, it used to be the fortune teller. You crossed the silver on the hand before they read the thing because it was appreciation, karma, energy. It's an
Yeah.
exchange of energy.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, one of the things we do in Sede Land is very much around awareness and engagement. It's what's your brand ambience and what's your brand's relevance. Your brand ambience is just the feeling people have around it. Your brand relevance is how you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the show, cafe, all the stuff that goes out, all of that is brand ambience. It's
Mm-hmm.
this. It creates this, and it's working because people are giving up sleep. I was speaking to a web guy who we're back and forward trying to think of doing some stuff maybe in 2021, and he goes, what are you trying to achieve, Steve? I said, I'm not trying to achieve anything in the context of this discussion. I want you to answer this question: how do you monetize people giving up sleep?
Mm-hmm.
And when was the last time someone came to you and said people are giving up sleep? People are ringing up about custody battles, about conceiving, about suicide, about there's some pretty full-on things that I get approached about, and it's not on my T-shirt, trauma specialist. It's
Right.
not, but that's what happens.
It's because you make
So
sense out of things.
yeah, so there's two things in terms of everyone goes, well, it's COVID, so there's a shortage of money and all that kind of stuff, and whether that's true or not, I don't know, because I keep walking into one of the main shopping centres here in the centre of Sydney, and there's a queue outside the Gucci store because people are trying to get in, and there's only 10, and I'm going, there's no money in the world.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe and I'm not suggesting there isn't, and I'm sure there's some people out there, many people out there. I'm not being dismissive of that in any way, shape, or form. But one of the things is you need to have an approach of how do you create a brand awareness? How are you keeping yourself present? And then
Mm.
how do you create a brand relevance? And the journey from awareness to relevance is where the monetization comes in. And then the monetization models, I mean, I've had people going, oh, I need to get my $25,000 high ticket price. Oh, yeah, great. And here's my first podcast telling about how 4 years ago I did 100 grand in 1 month. Yeah, it was 4 years ago, dude.
Right.
Number one,
Yes.
people don't care about 4 years ago. And
No.
in 2019, 4 years ago was like, oh, it's a bit dated. In 2020, with what's happened in a generation that none of us have ever experienced before,
Right.
telling anyone what happened 4 years ago, now we're in this COVID situation. Because in my lifetime, I've never seen so many. I've never had to stand in specific places, or I live 24th floor looking towards the airport in the distance here in Sydney. It's unbelievable at a fairly big city of the world, and there's like you might see 3 planes a day if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So the end result is if you're 2019 talking about 4 years ago, it's dated. If you're 2020 talking about 4 years ago, it's irrelevant.
Right. Yeah.
And so the end result is, what is your brand awareness, everyone, in terms of what are you doing? How, if people came to your house for dinner on a Saturday night, the experience and feeling of when they walked in the door is the ambience. When they leave and how they enjoyed what you did is the relevance.
Mm.
Because people come over not to get free food, they come over to engage your company. So the first thing is about creating brand awareness, and everything we do with the show, with all the different videos, street sessions, and everything that goes out, all of that is just creating the ever-present brand awareness of Steve. The
Mm.
brand and then the show and the cafe is the same. The brand relevance then is how do you go into from the show to Believe Your Brilliance, to Brilliance Mentoring, to the Brilliance Academy, to Brilliance Roundtables, to Brilliance Mastermind. And people can go up that path if they want to. And I can stand true, holding my hand on my heart, going, it's a platform for everyone where no one gets left behind.
Right.
No one. No one. But I've created mechanisms that allow me to be able to say that, and it's true. No one gets left behind because everyone deserves their time.
Yes. Yes, they do. And but they've got to want that time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That's
and,
the
and, and some people are going to go, that's really great, Steve. And you're giving, here's the three things you need to do. And they're sitting there going, yeah, that's really great, Steve. I still do it. You know why? Because I'm actually now making a video from everyone else, and that person's just inspired it, because they're not going to do anything, but someone else will.
that's the
And
point.
it's working. So then I
Yeah.
start getting messages from even yourself, beautiful, your beautiful self, where you just said a few minutes ago, it wasn't Annie, it was the other lady. I lost. I'm not sure who. I can't remember who it was, and I feel terrible that I can't remember. But you were mentioning, oh, you did this, Steve. So all of a sudden, even if that person, whoever it was, was sitting there going, yeah, that's really impressive. I love that. That's really good. All these weeks later, I get to speak to Sarah, and Sarah turns around and goes, remember that thing you were doing? And I go,
Mm,
okay, it's working.
yeah.
Message to everyone out there: are you noticing what's working, or are you
Yeah.
so focused on doing? Because when
Yeah.
some people are sitting there and they ask me the question, and they're going, oh, that's really good, Steve. That's amazing. And these are the three things you need to do. And I'm looking at them going, these are the three things you need to do. And they're going, okay. And I know they're not going to do them. So I
Right.
then now this week's coming show, when I do that, if it happens and the person goes, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to be thinking of Sarah, going, well, Sarah might watch this in a few weeks' time. And
Hmm.
then she might mention it on an interview with someone else when she's having a discussion with someone else and it's not me. And she goes, oh, by the way, Stephen Sede said this. Or by the way, don't even mention me. I don't care if you mention me. I just want you to share what I teach.
Right. Yes. But the big word and the emphasis is on share.
Yep,
All we can
absolutely.
do is share, share, share. And those that are ready to pick it up because it means something to them at that time, it's relevant to what they're looking for at that time, and they're willing to pick it up and apply it,
Yep,
are the people who are going to benefit from it. For those that are just going to listen and go, oh, that's nice, maybe it's going to go in their seeding bank and it'll be
yep,
more relevant later on. Or
yep,
maybe it's they're looking for the quick fix or the quick answer, so therefore it's completely over their head altogether. The whole
yep,
point is what is our responsibility in what we listen. I listen to, oh God, what I've learned for the years of doing this,
yep,
has really defined who Sarah is. Um, and I know there's so much more to learn. I know there's so many more obstacles I've still got to overcome. But it will be the one step at a time, as this one is relevant to me right now. I'm
yep,
paying attention to it because it's speaking to my need right now. And then when you're so excited about it and it's worked, of course, what you want to do is share it. And that's what we should do, is share the processes that work.
yeah. I mean, the only time you'll ever hear me say that I'm really, really smart is this sentence. I am so smart that I know how naive I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just never stop learning stuff, ever. So that's the only time. If someone says, do you think you're a smart and intelligent person? Yeah, I do. But on what grounds? I know how naive I am and how much more I've got to learn.
Right. I'm totally with you on that one.
Are you the smartest person in each of the rooms you walk in, Steve? No, but I try and be the most curious and service orientated.
Yes.
If you come near me, I'm going to change the way you breathe. I'm going to change the way you think about who you are. I'm going to impact your life. So the new website that's coming will say Stephen Sede Life Changer, because that's what it is. What?
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, before you go, well, that's quite a braggadocious. Guess what? The most common thing people are saying to me personally now, this is life changing.
Yeah.
What are people saying about the experience of you, everyone? It's so, so important. What are they saying? Go, and I did this I think it went out last night. I'm not sure. What are people writing on your birthday cards? What are they writing on your Christmas cards? When your best girlfriend, ladies, actually has a baby and she announces that there's a new baby coming, what are they writing? When you walk into someone's place on Christmas Day, when you catch up with your friend you haven't seen for ages because of COVID, for example, what are the words that they're saying when they embrace you? What are the things that they're doing? How are they reacting? So go back to every birthday card, if you've got that little box somewhere, and read through all the cards. What are people saying? Everyone's going, I need to find my purpose and I'm trying to connect with my heart. Your heartfelt friends are telling you every single day and you are not listening because you're too busy trying to work out, I wonder if I should say it the way Steve said it or the way Sarah should say it, or Elon Musk said that really famous thing, or Gary Vaynerchuk, if you're into that type of stuff, said that, or no. What did someone say about you on your last birthday card? And if it
Right.
was from Gary Vaynerchuk, good luck to you. It's probably a pretty fruity FFF card. But the most beautiful people in the world are the ones you do life with. Stop looking and idolizing all these other people.
Yeah.
What is the most beautiful people in the world saying about you? Stop worrying about whether Tony Robbins will ever send you a birthday card.
And again, it's what big names do you interview? I don't care what big name they might be or might not be. It's how heart connected are they to what they're
Mm.
doing and to the difference they're making in the lives of others. Um, I have a wonderful interview to tomorrow with a producer, director, filmmaker. He's behind that
Yep.
series, that Hollywood on Netflix. He's in his 80s now, and we're going to do a two-part show where I just can't wait to hear about his life story and
Yep.
all the wonderful things that he's done and people that he's met. And that I relish in that. If we could
Mm.
relish in other people's stories, and the wonderment of what they've gone through. We look at the title and we think, oh, they've had it all. But what about the struggle to get there? And then what they learned from when they got there, and the impact of what they learned and the impact they had on other people.
Yep.
Because we learn so much about ourselves then. And I think so much it gives us permission to be.
Very true. It's like I said earlier, go go find practitioners of what you admire.
Yes.
Go
Yes.
find practitioners. If you admire the way Sarah does her show, maybe the content of some of her shows it may not be right down your alley. Maybe some of the language might be different. I know that for me as well. But
Mm-hmm.
you like the way Steve does vertical cameras. You like the way that
Yeah.
Sarah's got it. What type of microphone she's using. It doesn't matter what you ask her, because I suspect, and if I may, I suspect Sarah doesn't care whether you want to know about her microphone. She's just excited you want to use one.
Yes. And I'm glad that you use one. Yes.
Yeah,
Instead of,
but
you know,
you might actually be doing the Gary Vaynerchuk way of writing a birthday card. Sarah probably doesn't want you to use her name when you're doing that, but if that's what works for you, go for it. You know what I mean? So, find practitioners of what you admire. Absorb and go and find the impact you have on others. And you might find your purpose is right there, but you're too busy looking in the wrong place. And you know what? You don't find your purpose. It's waiting for you to turn the lights on.
Yeah, that's the reason why this next word is called self-discovery. When you're willing to actually discover self, you actually discover who, what, why you are. And you're not your struggle. Your your ability to come out of the struggle better than what you were when you went in.
Mm.
And as I said, I'm 66 years old now, about to be a grandmother for the first time. So it's really,
Oh,
really
isn't that
exciting.
beautiful?
So yes, totally excited.
Beautiful.
I thought, I always joked with the kids, I'm going to be in the wheelchair with the baby by the time they get there. So, so at last it's happening. It's the simple joys in life. I absolutely love what I do. I love unraveling people's onions and hearing their stories and knowing it
Mm.
has an impact. I don't always know what impact these shows have. Sometimes I get feedback, sometimes I don't. But then all of a sudden, I'll go and put something out on the social media. And then the people that come back, not with just the like, with this, that, but with a comment or with
Yep.
support.
Yep.
I had migraines the other day. Anybody got a thing on it? God, the amount of people that came out, that shows they care. Why do they care? Because I care for them and they know that I come from the heart and I truly and honestly do care. That's
Yep.
the community you want around you. People
Mm.
who feel the same from the heart and the soul of it, that want to be there for each other and raise this vibration. The universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, to step up and change it up. We are the change we seek. We have the solutions, they lay within us. Are we going to step up?
Mm. Go find practitioners.
Yes, they've been
Go
there.
ask.
They've
Go
done
ask.
it.
Go ask people about the impact you have on them.
Yes.
And stop trying to find a landing page that will give you go and find landing pages of the practitioners that you admire. And the reality is some of the practitioners you admire are not on a landing page on the other side of the world. They're right next to you.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things I get told from soul shifters and things of that sort is it's amazing, Steve, ever since you told me blah, or ever since we did this, or ever since we did that, it's just like all of this, it's not, and what they don't say is, oh, everything's got better and it's all amazing.
Right.
They turn around and say, there's just things I never noticed.
Yes.
Can write this one down, everyone. Great leadership is to hold a mirror up to someone else to show them the reflection of themselves based on the example that you are. Go and be an example to other people and hold a mirror up and let them see. Because I always say to people, don't you see what I see?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I do that on the show every single time. They go, "Oh, this is so clear. This is so amazing." Yeah. Have I told you anything that's a surprise to you? No. Have I actually given you something that's a different version of what you are? Yes. Okay. So stop telling me that you've discovered something new on the show. No, you haven't. You've just identified the thing at conception you've been hiding your whole life.
Right. You've opened that cupboard door.
Hmm.
Right? A new
Indeed.
ingredient to add to your dish or to let loose,
Well,
to
it's
let
not
the
a new
flavor
ingredient.
out.
It's not a new ingredient. It's just been sitting there.
Yes,
Because
been sitting in the
the
cupboard. Now add
the
it to
fun,
your dish. It'll add
yeah
more flavor.
the funny thing is, I get all these comments and all these nice things said, and the people come on the show and say all these very kind things, which is all very nice, and I don't dismiss it, but it's not why I do it. And I think back to when I was 12 years old at grade 7 at school, St Mark's College in Bedford in Western Australia. And Mr. Grabsky asked one of the guys to go and get me at playtime back in the day. And I could go, what have I done wrong? And I was the captain of the football team and he was the coach of the under 13s team. And I thought I'd done something wrong. And I thought, what have I done wrong? And he called me into his office. I was 12 and it was playtime. And he told me, Steve, you're a leader. They'll follow you. I still remember it. And when I went to a school reunion at 35 and I saw him and I went over and saw him, I said, do you remember what you said? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I've been watching your videos. I told you. And
Yeah.
I was 12. So everyone, what did you get told at 12 that you then, oh, you won't believe the epiphany. I actually went onto this guru's website and I downloaded the 3 things to discover about who you are. And oh my God, if it wasn't for Stephen DeSade, I never would have found out who I was. And then you go, but my version of Mr. Grabsky when I was 12 told me that.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
always been like this, and I just allowed all
Yes.
of these opinions. I allowed the fact that bankruptcy and emotional bankruptcy, which is devastating, financial bankruptcy, which is just a pain, suicide, all those types of things. I allowed all of those things to be the determinant of whether I should speak up at 55 to 57.
Yeah.
And then discovered that Mr. Grabsky told me when I was 12, you can do this.
I was.
So everyone, what is it that you can do that you've convinced yourself you can't? That your Mr. Grabsky all those years ago told you that you do.
And as far as I'm concerned, the gift of who we are and what we're here to do is revealed as a child. And, I used to be my teacher's counselor.
Yep.
And we'd just have conversations and I would tell them something they needed to know, the knowingness. And they go, how do you know that? I don't know. I don't even know what I've just told you, but I just knew you needed to hear it. I didn't understand, but that's what I've been doing all my life. And it's not always for me to understand what I'm telling them. They'll understand it because they're ready for it, because that's why I was there in the first place.
Yep. Why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
We're
beautiful.
all here for a reason. Whatever our beautiful instrument is, learn to play it with pride, find your orchestra, get that symphony out there and let people start to dance.
Beautiful.
That's what it's all about. So let's find out now. Obviously you're on LinkedIn and all of these things, but you've got the YouTube. So obviously you've got your own site and your own academy. Give all the details of how people can join you, which, where, and where.
The easiest way is to go to stephendesade.com. If you're on LinkedIn, follow Soul Shifters, ask to join Soul Shifters. Because what I'm starting to do now is putting a lot of training content inside of Soul Shifters. So, but the easiest way to go, stephendesade.com. The easiest way to go to any of the social platforms, go to YouTube, or just put in Stephen DeSade on Google and you'll find it. Simplest way.
Yeah. Can you spell your name for those that are just listening?
Stephen. And DeSade is DE space SEDE. Stephen DeSade. So I always, on the occasions I do these things and people go, tell us all the stuff, and they sometimes hear other people and they rattle off 50 million things. My simple thing is, this is my name. I am everywhere. And if you need to find me, find me.
Mm-hmm.
And find me at stephendesade.com, DESEDE.com, or go onto LinkedIn and put stephendesade.com. I'm sure when this is published and however way it's going to be published, it'll have links underneath it and things of that sort.
Absolutely.
Find what you need to find, because the universe is desperately trying to give it to you.
And the various people, you're a vessel for that information, for what people need to know. As my own knowingness, I'm there to impart what people need to know when they need to know, and as is anybody else that comes on. Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to
Yeah.
hear? And then
Yeah.
are you willing to do something with it? Right? That's,
Well, the
it's
fun,
inspiration and, ignition
mm,
into that, that invitation to ignite what it is in you into action, as I call it, actionism. No longer activism, which is just speaking about it. Actionism. Get into action.
yeah. Well, the Inspiring Insights show is basically people ringing up and asking me something on the spot and me actually answering whatever they've asked. So on any given, we do a masterclass and tactic on the show each week, but the questions people ask me are completely whatever they want to ask me. So they're not predetermined questions. I don't know what they are. So to that point, we're creating content because we then cut all the content up of the show. We're creating content based on someone's question. And the reason we do that is most people's question, everyone else is asking as well.
How did you get together with Peter?
About 2 years ago, Peter contacted me, and it was he contacted me just before my birthday, and I was in Sydney back in the days when you could move around, and we ended up having a conversation in Sydney for about 3 hours on my birthday, and then 2 years later, and we sort of just bounced around, and we noticed each other on LinkedIn and stuff. 2 years later, earlier this year, Peter contacted me, and it was just I was supposed to go to New York for 12 weeks, and then obviously that got curtailed. Some friends here in Sydney said, why don't you stay with us? So I did. And 3 days later, they tested positive. So I got locked up for 3 weeks because they were tested positive. So that was interesting. And during that period, Peter contacted me again, and he interviewed me for his LinkedIn linked up thing that he does. And I was telling him about, well, I can't move anywhere. And I started to come up with this idea of the vertical whiteboard and everything, and one-to-ones in front of many and all that stuff. And I wanted to do it rather than just a talking head show where two people are talking. I wanted it to be, that's part of the reason why, even though I'm not writing on the whiteboard, I keep giving people tactics to go and take away. If you hang around with me, I'm going to get you to do something. And the 1%, 2% of people that are listening, or the 2% of the audience that will hear it will actually action it. The other 98% will go, that'll be good. And then whinge about how things aren't any different 9 years from now. So after that, and I just said it to Peter, and after this, we did the interview. After we interviewed finished, I said, I'm thinking about doing this thing one-to-one in front of many. And then I asked him about what service you're using, a thing called StreamYard. And it started evolving from there. And then I asked him, I wouldn't mind doing this. And he initially said, no, because I can't do things on whiteboards. I said, I'm not asking you to. And it just evolved from there. And I tell the story in episode 2 about how I actually went through the process doing this model of how, called the dignity mandates, about how I actually got him to agree, and not manipulating. It just got to a point where I left the decision up to him, but there's a certain process I went through. And then he just rang me up one day on WhatsApp and said, let's do it. And then the show has just evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. And
it's a wonderful format. It really is a wonderful format because it's so engaging. It's not so they're not talking heads like I do. It's something
there's nothing wrong with talking heads. I just didn't want.
It's not your format. You're the whiteboard king.
Well, the thing is, I'm very, and I've been doing it on your show, because if we're going to spend an hour of each other's lives together and anyone's going to listen to this, then I want them to be able to take things away.
Right.
So that's just me, and I want people to have something tactical to take away. And as we say on the show, if you can't use what you learn here in 30 minutes, we've failed.
Mm-hmm.
So when the show finishes, if you can't walk in and say something to someone at a coffee shop based on what Steve said, or you can't conduct yourself at home, in the family, wherever it might be, because people are watching at all of the times where you're either at work, you're in the coffee shop in the morning, or you're actually at home, they're watching throughout all of those time zones. Whether you're going to walk into the table with the children, whether you're going to walk in and kiss them goodnight, whether you're going to walk into the coffee shop, whether you're in the middle of your work day, in the 30 minutes following the show, my intention, and I don't always say it, but it's always ever present, within 30 minutes of you clicking off the show, whether you've watched the first 3 minutes or whether you've watched the whole thing, I want you to take something away. Yeah. So when the show starts, we quickly do a kind of TV style thing, introduction to it. We get the guests on for them to be able to say hello, and this is who's on it. We do a 3-minute masterclass and a 2-minute tactic. So within the first 8 minutes of the show, we've actually given you enough stuff for you to go off. You don't have to watch anymore. So the first 3 minutes, the first 8 minutes of the show is a 3-minute video that you normally would watch on social media, and after that, it's a 2-minute whiteboard. So the masterclass and the tactics are joined together to tell you this is confidence, this is clarity and confidence in the masterclass. And in terms of the one we just did about time guardians, how do you validate the use of your time? Clarity and confidence in the masterclass. And then it went down onto the whiteboard about the 6 steps of time guardians of how to manage time based on validating it. Everything is pre-programmed, everything. Because my attitude is, if you're going to watch our show at any stage for 10 minutes, it's going to change your life.
Yeah, I will agree with that, because especially the whiteboard, it's the reiteration of what you're speaking, and some people are visual. They need to see what they're hearing, and it's a solidifier. And we're going to get what we get out of it. And you see my comments of it, of what it sparks
it's
out
beautiful.
of me.
I appreciate it.
Because what I'm watching is, whoa, da 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 da. That's what it sparked out of me, and that's what you want, is people a reaction and an interaction. To know that, obviously, that
actionism, my lady.
Yes,
that's
actionism.
What we want.
Absolutely.
That's what we want.
Yes.
That's what we want. I want people to go cool, and it's beautiful. But that's what I want. I love that word. It's beautiful. And for a lot of people, it's a good cliche, actionism. Well, in the context of what we're doing, speaking of myself, when I say actionism, I know exactly what I mean. So this is the tactic for this week. I'm going to go to a coffee shop afterwards. This is time. This is what it is. So this is the rough copy of what it starts to look like. But this is the actual copy that was on the show, Time Guardians. So I draw them up in very, very specific detail, and then we use them as artwork. Then last week's one was all about how do you manage all the different elements of your life, called Lifeboat Living. So it's all very, very structured, because my attitude is, if someone rings me up about the inability to conceive, if someone rings me up about the death of their infant child, if someone rings me up about something that, hey, Steve, what do I do? Because my kids are watching me at the dinner table and I've lost my job and it's COVID and I'm worried. And the 7-year-old child's looking at dad thinking, is that what doubt looks like? And they're forming their value and belief on it. I don't have time to get on and go, hey, everyone, give me your email address and I'll tell you how to get the pool. Yeah, but Steve, what about my kid at the dinner table? Let him jump in the pool, mate. Seriously, just let him jump in the pool. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but my 6-year-old daughter got abused by a 12-year-old boy. That's not what I do. Seriously. I didn't ask for this to come. There is nothing on my website that says, hello, tell me this serious stuff, but it keeps happening. So my last message to everyone, what is the responsibility of the gift that you've been given? It comes in 2 forms. Number 1, you accepting it, and number 1, you polishing it just in case someone comes and asks for help. Right. People want to know how to have clarity in their life. So a mother will actually contact me and say, Steve, what do I do about my little girl? And sends me a picture, and a picture of 4 love hearts. The first love heart I meet 2 days after this incident looks like Edward's scissor hands. And then over the next 3 weeks, these other love hearts end up turning into what a 6-year-old a girl particularly, should be drawing of love hearts. What are you prepared to do when someone brings their most precious asset and asks you for help?
Yeah.
And take that as a responsibility. So all of the stuff that I've just showed you in terms of life guardians and all those types of things, I'm not doing this to get your email address. I'm doing this to make sure your daughter, your son, your life, your friends can rely on you, because they're relying on you. You have a responsibility. As I say on the show all the time, your life is not about you.
It's the gift that you have to share.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And what I look upon what you're doing with the whiteboard is that you're structuring the inspiration. Now, people get inspired by something that's said, but by the way that you write it, people are inspired by the statement, and then you clarify it and put it into the actionism of application, of how we can actually apply
homework assignments.
Yeah. So it is the structure of, I'm inspired by this, but what do I do with it? And you give the ABCs of what to do with it. And that's what's missing in a lot of the inspirational stuff that we do. I'm so inspired, but what do I do now?
Yes.
And
inspired to think, motivated to act. The motivated to act thing is the bit that people leave out. So the end result is I feel really excited. And sadly, a lot of people will put money into these things. And in the COVID world, money's a dollar's really a dollar or a pound or whatever it is. So the end result is they buy into the inspiration. And then now what do I do?
Right.
And that's why buyer's remorse is so high. And you think, well, it's not really fair, because all you did was when you go and watch a movie in the cinema, as the English say, cinema, when you go and watch a movie in the cinema and you pay your whatever it is around the world, different prices, but you pay your money to go and watch the latest James Bond film when it comes out, after all of this COVID business, you go in, you pay your money, you watch it, you leave. And if the film was good, you go, great. If it wasn't as good as the last James Bond or whatever it was, or it wasn't as good as that film, you walk out, you go, okay. But when you buy something that's supposed to actually make you feel different, give you a better sales and marketing, a better personal brand, a better personal development, whatever it is, when you pay money based on the inspiration that got you to buy, and then you realize it's like walking into the theater and the movie doesn't play.
Right.
They show you the trailer and you thought, but I didn't pay for the trailer. I saw the trailer on YouTube. Yeah, I know, but the movie's not released yet. But thanks a lot. Here's a free piece of popcorn.
Right.
So I'm very, very careful on the basis of, if I'm going to say to people, you hang around with me and I'll change your life, I better make sure that the ambience and the awareness of the Sede brand is proof that it's true. How? Because I've not bought a thing from him. I've not done anything except watch one of his shows, and it changed my life, just like he said.
Mm-hmm. And
So
it has to do is change an inch. Don't always look for the yard.
Absolutely. And
right?
Absolutely. Then I say to people, could you, at the Sede cafes on Saturday, I said, could you possibly imagine what would happen if you work with me one-to-one?
Exactly.
And if you want to, do it. If you don't want to, fine. Well, Steve, I don't want to spend any money. Good. Hang around. It's a platform for everyone. Watch the show, come into the cafe, no charges, just hang around. Because I'm in a love affair with humanity. So I like hanging around on Saturday morning for about 90 minutes, just chatting with people. Some of them ask me questions, some step over the line in the context of trying to go, hey, Steve, and can I ask you about this? Yeah, you can, but I'm not going to answer. And they kind of know. And it's interesting that human beings have a great courtesy and respect when you set the standard of it.
Yes.
So I'm happy if I decide to go off on one about something you ask me, then I'll do it. But don't come here thinking this is free coaching. And they don't, which is really lovely. And the other thing, everyone, stop trying to emulate the monstrous viral success. If you look at the viewerships of our show, it's not high. But if you look at the traction of what's happening, it's deep. And it's a slow burn, and it's working. But patience. If you're consistent and you're constant and you never waver from what you're doing, where everyone goes, well, I did 3 shows and I haven't got 100,000 followers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, but people get bought into that. It's got to go viral.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
And if you look at the things that are going viral, do you admire them? Do you really admire Kim Kardashian? Is she really teaching you anything?
Yeah.
I went off on a private jet to a private island, and we had a party, and I lived this really successful life. Yeah, but what have you ever contributed to humanity apart from just telling me that you're better than me? What have you actually contributed?
Right.
Just out of interest.
Yeah.
I mean, then you see Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, and he's landing vertical rockets and sending sports cars into space and talking about creating an interplanetary species. And then when you actually talk to the guy, he's pretty dry in his personality, but he doesn't care about the accolades because he's too busy on his vision.
Right.
Now, whether you think he's a good, bad, or indifferent guy is not the point, but he's just focused on what he's doing. And these other people are focused on the vanity of, I can get on a plane and fly around the world to an island, and I can have a big party and be a bit normal. And I live this privileged life. No, you don't. You live this privileged life by the ignorance of you actually saying what you just said.
Right.
While some people are struggling, you're telling everyone how privileged you are. No, you're not. Privileged is to do what Mother Teresa does. Privileged is to do what you do, Sarah, give people their voice. That's privilege.
And, it's if you're looking for the accolades, I say this, when people are wanting to do a podcast, I said, if you're looking for fame and if you're looking for money, don't do it. You're doing this because you want to share. You're doing this because you want to contribute. You're doing this because you want to support. You want to celebrate people. Otherwise, don't do it. If the ego is involved, don't do it. You can take pride. And I've had a couple of times in my life where it actually has come back to me, you've saved someone's life, or you changed my life, or I was thinking of suicide and I didn't. And all it is I was in the right place at the right time and they were ready to hear what they needed to hear. Yep. It is wonderful to hear it, because if that one show stopped somebody from doing something negative in their life, or even propelled them and shifted them forward into doing something positive for their life, then that show, that if nobody else listens to it, I don't care. It had the impact. What impact are you having on that one person who needs to listen
Yep.
to what you have to say and how it can help them move forward in their life? And if it helps many, fantastic. But
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
about look at helping the one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some videos that I do where people ask me, "Hey, Steve, how come your videos are so personable?" I said, because listen to the videos. How often am I talking to one person?
Right.
And there's a video inside of the Sede Strategy Show, it's season 1, that talks about how I do it. And basically, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the camera and I can, like, for example, if I was to talk about uh, sometimes when I'm telling people on the show and they look as if they're not listening, I'll actually, and I might be making a video about it, I'll be seeing your face, like I can see right now. I'll be looking at the camera and I can see Sarah's face, and I may not mention your name, but I'm emoting to how proud I was to know that when I was doing that thing, and I know who you were talking about, the person, they were listening and they were enjoying their moment. They're not going to do anything. But lo and behold, a few weeks later, I get told by Sarah in Canada, "Oh, by the way, Steve, I thought that was really cool, and I took something away from it." And I went, "Okay, good." The next time someone switches off in the middle of the show, Steve, or just sits there and goes, "Yeah, I'm just like you, Steve." Okay, I'm just like you, Steve, and all that kind of stuff. And they're standing there. Well, if you're just like me, at least have the courtesy of holding a pen, because I'm holding one.
Mm-hmm.
And they sit there and they go, "I'm just like you," which is fine, and they're not doing anything. I'm making a video about, don't feel disappointed if your message is not getting through, because there's Sarah's out there watching.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go,
Mm-hmm.
"How come you're being so personable?" Because I'm now talking to Sarah and I just happen to be making a video. And sometimes I'm thinking of you and I can see you. And most people are looking at the camera and they're going, "Hi, I'd like to make a video." And in the back of their mind, they're going, "Oh, God, I hope 100,000 people watch this."
I just, as long as it helps one person, and if it
No,
helps many, hallelujah. It's like I did
every,
actually take some notes, and one that really stuck with me. The self value equals money, and
yep.
how many people look at money as being their self value.
Yeah,
And
how terrifying for some people.
yes, yes, and I keep getting from people, "Why are you more money motivated? Why don't you do this? You could make money." And I go, if it's against my core, I can't do it.
Yep.
I can't do it. If my core doesn't believe in it, I can't do it, because that's just money and it will cost me too much of myself, of my integrity, to do it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's probably it's just a way of being able to manage that, because I agree with you and stuff, and I'm slowly turning the tide on that. But I've also worked, and it's like I said to you before, no one gets left behind. There's access to Steve because of this gift, and I think you've got to be authentic and genuine to. I'm so grateful. I get people asking me on the spot some of the most personable things ever.
Right.
Lady gets on the show. I've never met her before, going back episode 5, 6. And she turns around and she says to me, my ex-husband 30 years ago sexually molested my boy. And can you talk to me about that? And I'm going, so I went off on one about forgiveness is a commitment. It's not a feeling.
Right.
You've been waiting to feel like forgiving yourself, and it's not, it's a commitment.
Mm.
And boy, did that send everyone off into all over the place, which is cool. And I got taught that by a guy whose wife got murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 months later, she went to Vietnam. She got stabbed from Holland and she died before she hit the ground. And he told me, he said a year later, the Vietnamese government sent details of the fact that they'd executed him. And he said, and I just sat there and thought, well, he was to do what he did. He had no idea. And he said, I forgave him because he'd taken everything from me, and I wasn't going to take me feeling regretful every day for the rest of my life. So he said, Steve, you're waiting to forgive as a feeling, and it's a commitment. He said, every single day I'm committed to forgiving that man for killing my wife.
Otherwise, you become a prisoner of it.
Yeah, which is amazing. So anyway,
yeah, I had a guy that lost his wife, pregnant wife, and 2 children in a car accident, a 17-year-old drunk.
Yep.
And he was a pastor. And he said, how can I condemn this guy when I talk about God's forgiveness? And he had to go through, obviously, a year of, his own personal recovery. And he ended up reaching out to that child and helping that child change his life and put him on a different path. And, the courage to do that. If somebody took my children away from me, I don't know. Would I have the strength? Would I have the courage to do that?
Not now. You're going to be a grandma.
I know.
Without
Exactly.
the wheelchair.
Without the wheelchair. But
Yeah.
it does leave a question, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Could I have that courage to forgive? And that really makes us, I think, ask the questions of ourselves. And that's, I think, a dialogue sometimes we need to have, those hard dialogues, and that only comes about by somebody else's conversation that makes you
Mm.
going, could I, is it within me, or would I want revenge? And you don't know until you're in that situation, and God forbid that you're ever in that situation. But I think it most certainly is food for thought. Could I? And but hearing from all the people that have, because that's not the only show, of I had to forgive, because if I didn't, I'd be a prisoner.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I could sit back and what was I? I was 43. We owned 8 houses around the world. Had a monstrously big job because of the stuff I was doing with biometrics and counterterrorism. I was contracted to Homeland Security and also to the Foreign Office through all of that biometric bombing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm married to this beautiful lady living in London, traveling all over the world. And I sit back in the last sort of 10 years and think, what have I done since then? And then I start going, well, I wouldn't be talking to Sarah if I could change it. I wouldn't have some of the and the funny thing is, and a good message for everyone, do you actually reflect on the accolades? Because I get some pretty amazing things said on my feed about what I do, but I never sit here and go, yeah, but I wouldn't be getting all those great remarks said. I don't. I think I wouldn't have. I jokingly said to Andrea from America, she sent me a picture of her daughter's 18th birthday, and it was her in this beautiful picture. And I said, "Oh, it's like I'm going to be adopted because I don't have family and stuff." So I just said, oh, "You can adopt me. I'm now Uncle Fester." Next thing I know, I get this image 2 weeks ago, and it's her and her 15-year-old son whose birthday it was, and she went, "Hey, Uncle Fester, my
Mhm.
boy just wanted to say happy birthday." And you just all of a sudden you think, well, I wouldn't have that, and I wouldn't
Right,
have the conversations with you, Sarah, and I wouldn't have the conversations I have with Peter, and we wouldn't have people around the world giving up sleep. And
right,
why would someone give up sleep? Because of hope.
right.
And you're a gift of their hope. So I wouldn't have all of that. And then you start thinking, okay, but what if I was still with my wife and I still had all that money? And one of the things I said to someone recently, the first step of forgiveness is to accept where you are.
And who you are.
And that's based on whatever that incident was and all that kind of stuff. So, but
Yeah.
anyway,
And,
but anyway,
it's a long journey to becoming ourselves. And
yeah, that starts at conception.
yeah, and it goes right over until you leave this particular body
Yep,
vessel, and it
yep,
continues on even into the next lives. And
indeed.
and the thing is be willing to take the journey. Live in wonder, live in exploration, have an adventure. I don't know who I'm
Mm.
going to be tomorrow. I know the core of who I am. I know that Sarah's going to go and be wherever I am, but I don't know what's in store for me tomorrow.
No, exactly.
And I'm going to
It's beautiful.
experience tomorrow, because today I'm experiencing today. And just the goods, the highs and the lows, you just weather them. And those moments that really do feed you and your heart and your soul, and you go, this is the reason why I'm living. This
Yep,
is the reason why I'm here. I feel so fulfilled. I feel so abundant. I feel so enriched and so empowered because of of the stories that have been shared with me that now I can share with others. I
yep.
mean, live your best life.
Ditto to that.
On
Ditto
that
to that.
note,
Yes,
last the
indeed.
site again. Is it just desade.com or
It's
stevendesade.com?
Stephen with a PH, Desade, DESEDE.com. So StephenDesade.com. And just look up Stephen Desade on LinkedIn because a lot of it originates from there.
Right.
But it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, it's on my website. But yeah, so and you can just Google Stephen Desade. We put out as much stuff as we do. It's not hard
Yeah.
to find us.
Right. And I
Cool.
do encourage people to go and look and to participate and to comment, because you really do take the inspiration and put it down in a format
Mm-hmm.
that can be applied.
Yeah,
That's
and
it. You make
I've been
common
doing
sense
that.
out of it.
I've been doing that all the way. There's nothing wrong with the talking head
Right,
conversations
exactly.
like
But
this.
this
There's
is your
nothing wrong with
format,
them.
this is your gift, and this is your
Mm,
approach to it. And it's different to the way I've seen anybody else done it, and it's
thank
working.
you.
And it's working
Yeah,
because you
thank
do
you.
get food for thought. You do make people pause. You do make them ask themselves a question. And you do incite, for those that are ready, the ignition to get into actionism, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. So
one show
there's
at a
nothing.
time.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with all the podcasts and all those types of things. Everything has its purpose, and
Everything
everything
has
has its
its own
purpose.
style. Yeah.
In my case, my attitude is really, really simple. If you're going to spend 5 minutes or 50 minutes or 90 minutes with me constantly, as I've been doing on this conversation, I'm going to be dropping in things that you can go and action. And they're not little light touch things.
No.
They're needle shifters. That
Yes.
business about what's your impact, what the words they use, and how do you like things communicated to you, that's life-changing stuff. The whole concept about change being about being aware of change, having the courage to act, and the big one, have the courage to forgive yourself if it gets wrong and go back and start again.
Yes.
Go and find practitioners, doing a quick summary. Go and find practitioners for what you admire, and don't be surprised when you reach out to them that they'll respond back going, I know. The number of times I've done that with very successful people, and they go, not enough people ask me that, because I remember when I was in your shoes,
Yeah.
Steve. I remember. So just those three things, if you went out and actioned those three things, they will shift the needle on your life.
And
So
that's all we want, right?
if people have watched this, if people are anywhere near me, I'm going to give you things to actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And 98% of people will go, that's great, and go off and watch the next thing. And then 10 years from now, or 30 years or 50 years, do what Bonnie Ware says in The Regrets of the Dying, actually max out on the 5 regrets of the dying, which we can't do right now.
Right now, it's about the 5 joys of living.
Yeah, but the fact is, if you actually, it's just interesting. But I don't want to. I'm not ending on a gloomy note. Go out and find practitioners. Go out and ask people how you impact them, absorb it, and then present it and share it, and you won't have to worry about regret.
And here in Self-Discovery Media, I've got them, and all they have to do is put in the name, put in Stephen de Sede, all of his information will come up. I really do encourage listening to the wisdom, because it's applicable, because it's applicable, because it's insightful, but because it will also trigger you into actionism, which is really important. It might be something you just sit on and go, yeah, that's food for thought. That's, it's caused me to have a pause. I'm going to go back and listen to more. And you might listen to a few of them that are food for thought. And then there's that one thing, you're speaking to me. And I didn't know how to apply it. And that's what we're all looking for. We're looking for, how do I apply the wisdom to me and my situation?
Very true. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been wonderful. It's nearly been 2 hours, and I don't care, because there's so much knowledge here. People are going to have to take notes while they listen to it and go back and listen to it again. Even having what I like to, a podcast party, everybody listen to it at the same time and then share what they got out of it. Because I think that is something that's really you have book clubs, have a podcast club, and listen to the wisdom, and each one of you share what you got out of it afterwards, because that in itself is illuminating. Thank you so much for sharing with me here today.
No worries. Stephen. And come to the Sede Cafe on Friday evenings in North America and Saturday morning. Go to LinkedIn and just ask, DM me on LinkedIn about the Sede Cafe, and come join us. Everyone's welcome. Yes, thank you so much, Sarah. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. And thank you very much. And as I said, I love the format. I love the way it's approaching everything. It's very simple, very profound, but very applicable. And that's what we're all looking for. So thank you.
Actionism. Beautiful.
Actionism. Step into actionism. Until next time, folks. Bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.